and you're going up against guys that are studying lineups and players and everything for 50 hours a week just to play in a few tournaments at the end of the week. That's all that they do. Yeah, you're not going to win very many. You're not going to win very much money. And so that's kind of the thing that I would encourage is play the cash games. Play those 50-50 games. Start with free to learn the platform. Learn how it all works out. Then from there, move on to the cash games and stay there. Build up a bankroll as you're playing. Because you're not going to win. You're not going to win all the time. Injuries happen. Sleepers happen that you're not going to predict, and you end up getting beat by someone who had a bench player take off, and it ended up just beating your lineup. So you're going to have those kind of issues. But play the cash games, work up your bankroll, and then every once in a while you play the tournaments, play a tournament or two, play a couple cheap ones. Everyone's always wanting to play the big millionaire maker where it's the first place prize is $1 million. Again, not very. Only a few guys win those, and it's not very often that it's the rookie that wins it. It's the seasoned veterans that are that have dedicated the last 10 years since DFS really started coming out who actually win those ones. So that's kind of my generic kind of info on playing DFS and learning systems.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to start beginning today. I'm going to throw some topics that you'll want to do. You do the best you can to answer them for me, okay? Number one, okay, will tight end Will Dissy be a keeper all year?
I think that he will, as long as he stays healthy. Here's the thing with Will Dissly. He is third on the team right now in targets behind, obviously, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Now that Nick Vannett has been traded out to Pittsburgh because of the ailing Vance McDonald. This is only going to help Will Dissly get more playing time. He is mainly known as a run blocker who can catch the ball. But as it turns out, he has the ability to run after the catch as well. Not what he was known for when he was playing at the University of Washington up here in Seattle. But he has hands. And so because of his ability in the run game to stay on the field when they're really working on the run game, his ability to block and Russell checking out of runs when they need to, he's already on the field for the pass play. And he's used in a lot of short yardage situations. He's used a lot in the red zone because they like run a lot in the red zone. But when they need to check out of a play, Will Dissly's there, which has happened, I want to say, one or two of his 3 touchdowns already were runs that they checked out of, and ended up being a pass play for him. So I think that he is definitely a hold for the rest of the season. I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. I think that he could put up lower end tight end 1 numbers for most of the season.
Okay. Well, it's pretty neat that you have a local kid actually playing nearby, so it's not like you had to leave the area code at all, was it? So let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff. Who do you have this week?
This week, Aaron Rodgers gets Philadelphia at home on Thursday Night Football. I typically don't like Thursday Night Football games. In general, Thursday Night Football games tend to be a little bit of a, what's the nicest way to put this? A little bit of a crapshoot.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And really that's because everyone's on a short week.
Right.
And so, you're trying to figure out, you've got guys with injuries, not sure exactly how healthy they're going to be. So now we're also, on top of that with Aaron Rodgers, we're dealing with the fact that this is a guy who's always been a top 5 QB.
Right.
Basically his entire career. And now with the new new coach. They have a completely different offense.
Right.
And he is now, I want to say, QB like number 15 or 16.
Right.
Because he's only throwing for 170 yards and 1 touchdown a game instead of, 275 and 2 or 3.
Right.
So I think against this Philadelphia defense, which gave up a ton of yards and points to the Washington Redskins in week 1, they're 1 and 2. They've been struggling a little bit on, not only on offense, but also on defense. I think that this week with the Rams going up against Tampa Bay, they're going to be at home also. Tampa Bay has had some solid defense so far this year, other than the Giants game. Those first 2 games they played really well, against Cam Newton and the Panthers. They held Christian McCaffrey to like under 40 yards rushing. So they have a solid defense. I think right now, just with the offense and the way that they're going, I probably am going with Goff, tentatively with Goff this week. Again, I think that they're going up against I think what's probably a little bit worse of a defense.
Right.
And they have better playmakers at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, you just nailed it right there.
Goff has been finding Cooper. Cooper Kupp's been amazing.
Right.
And there were a lot of people that were concerned about his knee, with the ACL tear last year. He's done very well coming back this year. He is Goff's safety blanket and has been since Kupp was drafted 3 years ago.
Right.
And so we're still seeing if Matt LaFleur is actually truthful and honest that they want to get the ball into Davante Adams' hands more, like he said yesterday.
Right.
That's what they said, but prove it.
Right.
Prove to me that you want to give Davante Adams more than 4 targets in a game. Jimmy Graham more than 2 targets in a game.
Yeah.
And not just split everything up between your 2 or 3 running backs.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think with Jared Goff, he's got a coach that actually got him straightened down around a little bit after what happened with Jeff Fisher, and without a doubt. And anytime you have a guy like Goff, who's in the second year of an offensive system, who was effective, then where the Packers are still trying to get to know each other on offense. So I think that's definitely a good analysis. So let's go on to another guy who seems to be making headlines for all the wrong reasons. No, we're not talking about Antonio Brown, but this time we're talking Jalen Ramsey, who's leaving the Jaguars for the birth of a daughter and every other reason why he doesn't want to show up. But the reason why I bring up Jalen Ramsey is for those individuals that have Jacksonville as a defense. Do you get rid of the Jacksonville defense?
If they lose Jalen Ramsey, not necessarily. They still have a couple of decent pass rushers. I haven't seen the health of AJ Bouye and where he's at right now. They still have some solid defenders. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, he's the shutdown guy.
Right.
If they were to lose him, it's not necessarily a dump the Jacksonville defense. My philosophy on defenses when it comes to fantasy football is you stream defense.
Right.
And so, honestly, at that point, instead of a must hold on to, they're more of a situational, depends on the matchup team.
Well, you also have to understand, too, that Calais Campbell had a great week, and, of course, Marcel Darius is a beast when he's healthy, so there's no question that you definitely have a couple of guys that are, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but those are the 2 that come out there. And we have one more question that I've always wanted to ask you, and I'm going to do it now, okay? So, have you ever thought of doing fantasy football for the Canadian Football League, since everything is a crapshoot anyways? I mean, you live on a border area right near Canada. Once upon a time, I did too in Windsor with Detroit and Windsor. So, how about some love for the people north of the border, if there is any?
I think the closest team to me, it might be Calgary. Might be the closest team to me because they don't have a team. I don't believe they have a team in Vancouver.
Well, no, they got British Columbia Lions, man. That's right up the road. Only a couple
That's
of.
true. That's right.
BC.
My bad.
No, that's okay. It's not your style.
I have not gotten that into the Canadian Football League. Honestly, when the Canadian Football League is going, I tend to be either in draft mode or in preseason mode.
Right.
And with all my research. And so I am so focused on the NFL and running my website. I've got 20 writers doing a podcast. For the most part, I'm trying to do my best to focus on that. Maybe one day if I, get to the point where I've got a little more help with the website, working on a lot of stuff, maybe. But for now, with everything I'm doing for Skull King, not right now.
I am not holding my breath of you ever doing with the Canadian Football League, but what the heck, Got to talk about our friends north of the border. So, all right, let me ask you, let's go over a couple games. You want to make a couple predictions on some of your, what we call sure bets?
Sure, since I'm actually in a pick'em anyway, so I'll let you know what I think.
Sure, go ahead. You come up with the games and let everybody out there know what you're thinking. And we're going to start including that on a lot of your segments on the various sports channels that we have as well on the network. But we're going to start off tonight by giving me 3 of your favorite sure bets about who's going to win. I don't care about point spreads as much as most of the people gambling. If you want to provide them, you're free to do so. But give me some 3 Ryan Skolrud picks. How's that?
Okay, so looking at week 4, let me actually pull this up. Sure things, I would have to go with the Baltimore Ravens are going to pound the Browns in Baltimore.
Okay.
Baltimore's off. Well, their defense has been okay and did a pretty good job of holding down the Rams. They're not on the level that everyone was hoping that they were. I think they moved to 1-3, and I think the Baltimore Ravens, with their explosive offense and the different weapons that they have for Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson in general with his running ability and now his ability to pass the ball, I definitely think that is for me, that's a pretty sure lock that Baltimore is going to win that game.
Well, Baltimore held their own against Kansas City as much as a team is capable of holding themselves against Kansas City, too. So everybody expected that to be a blowout, and that one was not a blowout. So, okay, we're going to give you Baltimore. Give me a couple more.
I don't want to be a homer and say the Seattle Seahawks over the Arizona Cardinals, simply because those games in Arizona always end up being pretty tight.
Right.
Just those kind of divisional matchups are always pretty tight. So, I'm going to go with the Rams over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which kind of probably seems a little bit obvious, but I love the Rams' offense. Their defense has been playing so well. I think that Jameis Winston's going to struggle a little bit on the road in this game. He had a great game this last week against an atrocious New York Giants defense, and I think that the Rams' defense is above and beyond anything that New York could possibly put out on the field. So, with the ability of their defensive backs, I don't see Mike Evans putting up 190 yards and 3 touchdowns again.
Right.
And plus, I also believe that as of right now, Chris Godwin is having some hip issues, and it did not practice today. We'll see how healthy he is for this weekend. So if Godwin's not in, that brings down their passing game a little bit and just makes it that much harder for Tampa Bay to move the ball against the Rams defense.
Glad to know that, because I had Godwin in my fantasy league on Sunday, and he didn't do me any favors at all. That's probably one of the major reasons I lost, due to 10 points. So,
in that game, they really wanted to get Mike Evans going. If you remember, week 1, Mike Evans didn't do anything, but he was dealing with the flu that had been going through half the team. And not many saw it, but there was a couple video clips of him throwing up on the bench, while the defense is out on the field in week 1, still not fully healthy. I think he was finally close to getting his strength back in week 2, and I think he was fully healthy in week 3 and had a the perfect matchup to just go off.
Well, one other thing. Let's talk about Kenny Gallo.